The podcast you're about to hear involves true stories, which may contain graphic content that is not suitable for children. Listener's discretion is advised. This is Esoteric Oddities.
Hey guys.
Oh shit, we're recording.
Yep.
Hey, I'm here and I'm queer.
Same. Can we just talk about...
I'm like really heated right now.
I'm kind of heated too. What are you heated about? What's grinding your gears, baby?
That fucking email my landlord sent me.
Oh God.
So my wall in my living room is it has spores on it and it's like bubbling and it's like from the ceiling to like half the wall. And
it looks like almost kind of like a popcorn ceiling, but like you know that it's not supposed to be a popcorn ceiling.
I'll send you a picture to post.
Okay, excellent.
On the Insta page.
Love it.
So it's been like this since August 15th. And I've reached out literally every day to like let them know like, hey, what's the progress? So, I always email them when no one shows up just so I could like cover my own ass just in case I need a lawyer. And they're like, well, did you say that they didn't show up? And I'm like, no. So
and yeah, now you got your receipts.
Right. So now I have the receipts. So she says, Sarah, they did come last week, but it was pouring out rain and didn't get much done. If you weren't in the area, you wouldn't know how much it rained since I was in the office and then left for the buildings, in which I was caught in a downpour all afternoon. Tomorrow looks like a good day, so they will be out tomorrow between 9 and 4. Hope that's okay. We will get this done. Okay, first of all...
Is she looking for sympathy for something that you've been literally asking her for like maybe almost 3 weeks now that like she needs to fix? Because it's water damage. It's from water that's leaking from your ceiling.
So I don't know if I talked to Trish about it and she said maybe they were working on the outside of the house.
It doesn't look like it.
Exactly. But either way, you still need to fix the wall inside. So why wasn't that done? And my roommate was home till 7 p.m. that day and no one showed up. So.
Oh, and she's trying to say they did go?
Yeah.
Did you respond to the email?
No.
Okay, well, when you do, be like, oh, just letting you know my roommate was... Make sure, talk to Sam first and be like, hey, girl, are you 100%? Okay, wow.
She was like, I was literally in bed till 7 p.m. that day and no one came.
Yeah, you should let her know. That's
why I'm thinking maybe they wanted to start on the outside because they have to patch... Obviously, they have to patch something
If
up.
someone was outside your window, she would have heard it. She would have heard that ladder hit the side of the house.
Right.
There's no way.
I know, I'm just...
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
No, I really wanted to answer and be like, I won't hold my breath.
Love that. Okay, I'm breathing into this mic too much. I have to put it back on.
Stop breathing, you bitch.
You're doing it too. So I'm pissed. I don't even know why I'm pissed. I think it's just an accumulation of things, you know.
What grinds your gears?
I don't know. I just am in a very destructive mood. Like, I'm not angry right now, but...
I just want to break shit.
Tell me about it. Maybe it's because... I took a hammer to my current ex's shit. Yes, I'm going through a breakup right now.
Oh my God.
And it's not fun. And I'm genuinely like pissed at people. Today, I was pulling out of the Wegmans parking lot. I had to buy my avocados. And I'm pulling out and I look both ways and I go really, really slow because I had a good parking spot.
Congrats for pulling out. Love that. Up top.
But I am pulling out and... This guy, I see this old man in like this red SUV and he's going kind of fast and he's driving towards me. So I stop. Grandpa. I'm halfway out. I stop. He slams on his horn. I don't regret this, but I rolled down my window and I told him to eat my ass.
Yo, eating ass is good. Sorry.
I hate you. And I then go to pick up Sarah. And where I pick up Sarah, there's this little thing. We call it the nook.
I think we talked about it before.
Probably. So there's enough spaces. It's technically for valet parking, but when I go, there's no valet people out there usually. So there's enough space for 2 cars to fit perfectly. I pull around and there's a fucking bougie ass Porsche parked in both spots, right in the fucking middle. So I pull around the front of it and I turn around and the windows are tinted. And I'm like, are you not going to move? So I'm struggling to like back up and trying to parallel park because the way it's literally like a nook, like the curb is like kind of like a semicircle. It's hard to explain, but like I couldn't really parallel park into this space because it was too small. And, you know, I backed it up and I you know, they got a little love tap on their expensive Porsche from my Hyundai Elantra to yours. Happy holidays. So I'm not in the mood today.
I wouldn't be in the mood either. Fuck that and fuck that guy. I would have flipped him off. I was going to.
You did. You were yelling. You did. You turned around and you were
So
like, fuck you.
Sir.
And then we were at a stop sign, so we had to sit there while
I really
he
don't
stared
care.
at us.
I feel like people...
I don't care either.
Like, I would get out of the car and here would be this, like, 4'9" girl. But I promise you, I'll beat your ass.
She will. And we're not mean people.
I feel like everyone thinks I'm a bitch, but it's fine.
I don't think so.
I'm like a really nice person.
Just don't catch her outside. How about it?
No, I feel like I just don't like when people are rude for no reason.
Same.
Like when it's unwarranted, like that's when I really get heated.
This woman almost hit my shopping cart with hers today. I was like, was that necessary?
Love that, Karen.
And then didn't say excuse me. I feel like I'm so apologetic all the time.
Same. I'm like, excuse me. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. When it's their fault, I'm like, oop, my bad. Or like, ooh, I'm so sorry.
Excuse me. Oh, I'm just gonna.
Oh, I'm sick of the fucking apologeticness. Yeah. I am unapologetic. I am unapologetic like Rihanna.
You didn't even know who that was.
Who's Rihanna? Rhiannon?
Rhiannon?
Fleetwood Mac.
Wow, so good. Okay.
You guys came here to listen to us talk about us getting pissed off, I think.
Yeah,
right?
that's
what
it. The
this
podcast is
about.
called Getting Pissed Off.
Thank you.
So creative.
Yeah, that was awesome. We should sit in the think tank for a little bit.
All right.
A little bit longer than that. But,
all right.
I played GameCube for the first time in my entire life.
Where?
Here. Carly brought her GameCube over.
Did she have the Mario Party one?
Yeah, that's what we played. I've never played GameCube
I'm like
in my
really
life.
sad.
Were you a GameCube girl?
Yes.
What was your favorite game?
Mario Party. It's the one with all the little mini games, right?
Yeah, hers was the one on the boat, and she had the Mary Kate and Ashley like Sweet 16 first time driving game.
I had this one game on PlayStation. It was Rugrats. I don't want to pull it up because then my voice spikes too much.
I know.
It was on Rugrats. It was like a Rugrats game, and I think it was like Angelica's game, but it was so fun.
Love a good fun game. I had a Rugrats game on PC and I could never get past. Like, you had to climb these drawers and get the cookie jar on the top, and I could never fucking do it, so I gave up. That's why I don't play video games, because if I literally, I'm like, this is so dumb. Why am I going to put my all into it if I don't want it to work out? I just don't think you have patience. I don't. That's how I felt with RuneScape. I couldn't figure out how to fucking bake bread, so I quit. RuneScape.
Oh.
You dumb bitch. I'm just kidding. You're not a dumb bitch. You're my bitch.
Oh.
Get on your knees. Just kidding.
Get on your knees.
You guys, this is the Panty Podcast. I'm casting to you live from my underwear because it's absurdly hot. For some reason, my basement gets hot, even though heat rises. Like, upstairs is cool, but then down here is hot.
It's because I have my legs open.
Okay. Valid point. Hey, guys. This is Esoteric Oddities. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Sarah.
And thank you for listening. If you have not already, please give us a rating on Apple Podcasts. It really helps us out. And Facebook. We kind of started posting a lot more on Facebook. And Twitter at Esoteric Oddity, ODDITIE.
I'm creaking these chairs a lot.
Yeah, these chairs are creaky squeaky. If you send us an email, I haven't checked it in a week or so I'll respond accordingly. But also, thank you to our Patreon supporters. If you guys would like to, patreon.com/esotericoddities. It really helps us out a lot. You can get bonus content over there, including 2 bonus episodes a month. And, oh shit, it's getting better.
It sure is.
And it keeps getting better. It's, literally Keeps Getting Better by Christina Aguilera.
And it keeps getting, wait, what's that song that she came out with, like, in 2010, and it was really, really good?
Can't Hold Us Down with Lil' Kim. That was a great song. That was an anthem. Very forward feminist. And actually, to be honest, underappreciated. So if you could all go listen to Christina Aguilera, Can't Hold Us Down.
Your body.
My body?
Yours.
This one right here. This old thing. Today's topic is athletes and murder.
Ooh.
But really quick before we start, 2 episodes ago, I think it was episode 51, our good friend Becca informed me that what Maisie was discussing about the people who stayed in the monk's castle.
Oh, yeah.
that cult is actually the same cult from the Netflix documentary called Wild Wild Country.
Wow. Yes, Becca. Thanks, girl.
I knew about the documentary, but I never watched it.
What did she say? Bada bing, bada bang.
Bhagwan Shree. Oh my god, I hate you. Bhagwan was the guy and the cult that followed him.
Bhagwan.
So athletes.
Yeah.
How about let's do the thing that we know our profession, and let's talk about some sports here.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about RBIs. Let's talk about
What's RBI?
Runs-Batted-In. It's a baseball term.
What does that mean?
It means how many runs you've batted in. It's like a statistic.
Runs-Batted-In. I thought that was a word. Runs-Batted-In.
Yo! I hate you so much. You're like, what's a Runs-Batted-In?
I was like that.
Dead.
I
but
was
literally,
like, what does that mean?
Okay, so that's
Okay.
if you were a football player, what position would you be? I would be a tight end. You would be a wide receiver. Let's be honest.
That's true. Why would I be a wide receiver, though?
Because Jenny's been around the block.
Men, women, non-women, non-men.
Cucumbers.
I'm just a big bowl of bisexual.
I have so much editing to do in this already.
All right.
Okay, so who do we have? Who are you doing? Wait. Can I guess your sport?
Yeah, I told you.
Football.
Wow.
I'm a
you.
psychic.
Oh, yeah. Deaf. I have Robert Roser.
Who's that?
He, I'll just tell you.
Okay, thank you.
So, spring of 1976, Robert, it might be Rosier.
It's fine. Nobody likes sports.
Spring of 1976, Robert Rosier was coming off a winning season with the Golden State Bears. Rosier was drafted for the St. Louis Cardinals in the 9th round of the NFL draft. Rosier was a tight end and said to be an intimidating figure, standing over 6 feet tall and buff.
Ooh. I'm 6'3". I'm not buff, but you could climb me like an oak tree.
Love. 6 weeks into the season, Rosier's Cardinals cut him from the team, and while no official reason was ever given, rumors spread that Rosier had a problem with drugs. I'm going to call him Robert now because I'm sick of saying that.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
Robert took his skills to Canada and played for the Hamilton Tiger Cats and the
Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Sacagawean Rough Riders.
Do you know who Sacagawea is, right?
It's actually not that. It's Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan.
Yeah, that one.
Oh my god. We're here to tell you about sports and also give you a brief history lesson.
I'm sorry. I don't know how to say things.
And it's okay. That's what we love and appreciate about you.
So before heading back to the NFL with the Oakland Raiders, this time he made it to 2 games before getting cut. After 2 years, Robert's once promising professional career was dead.
Womp womp.
Robert wandered.
Do you think he was on steroids?
Yeah, I do. And I think other drugs.
Probably.
It didn't specify. It just said drugs.
Have you seen? This is a different sport, but I was thinking of steroids and cork. Have you seen Sammy Sosa lately?
Is he looking bad?
He's looking like a different race.
Yikes.
He's looking like he got a little too much work done, and his face looks a little rubbery. That's
so bad.
I think it might be the
Love
medication he was taking. Well, I don't know. Maybe he was on medication, but he was pulling a Michael Jackson. So anyway, back to football. Let's hit the showers, boys. Please.
Smacks ass. Robert wandered the country looking for a home, someplace he could hide away from the Canadian authorities who were after him for $50,000 worth of bad checks.
Ooh.
After spending 6 months in prison, Robert found his way to Miami, Florida, and the Temple of Love.
Oh, no.
Surprise! This is
a
cult story.
Oh, no.
So I'm going to get into the leader.
Okay.
And then go back to Robert.
Oh, I'm here for it.
So coming into this world in 1935, Hulan Mitchell Jr. was the first of 15 children of Reverend Dr. Hulan Mitchell Sr. and his wife, Dr. Pearl Mitchell. Kingfisher, Oklahoma wasn't a great place for a poor family, and even worse, for a poor black family. Still, the Mitchells endured every hardship thrown at them. Reverend Mitchell, with a special love for the book of Exodus, raised his children to follow the word of God, and Hulan Jr. swore that he would.
Uh-oh.
After serving his country, Hulan Jr. went to college to study psychology. Hulan Jr., like many at the time, became part of the civil rights movement in Oklahoma. His participation in protests and his firsthand experience with how Southern authorities violently handled demonstrators pushed Hulan away from the peaceful activism, much like Martin Luther King Jr.
What I know he was in the NFL around the 70s. What do we know what year we're in right now ish?
Not yet. I'll get there in
Okay.
like just a second.
Okay.
So Hulan moved through a variety of black nationalism groups, never finding one that spoke to him in the way he needed. To Hulan, the answer to equality laid not only in nationalism, but in the biblical retribution.
Oh, here we go.
With that realization, Hulan Mitchell Jr. was dead.
Wait.
In his place stood Yahweh ben Yahweh, the Lord, Son of the Lord. So he swapped his whole identity and
he was. Oh shit. Okay.
started calling himself Yahweh ben Yahweh.
Okay. I thought you were saying he
no.
died.
No, like his
Okay.
personality
Ooh.
died.
You scared me there.
So we're in this.
Okay, so same guy, different title, because I see where this is going.
Yeah. So by the end of the 1970s, Yahweh ben Yahweh found a home in Liberty City, Florida. From there, he preached to anyone who had lost faith in God and government, to those left behind in a changing world. Over the course of a year, Yahweh ben Yahweh built up his own religion, the Nation of Yahweh. He told his followers that Europeans and Jews were the oppressors, and that Africans and the descendants of Africa were the true chosen people of God.
Uh-oh. This sounds like it's steering towards disaster.
He told them that God celebrated when a white man died, and his cult grew, and so did Yahweh ben Yahweh's demand for loyalty to him above all else. I'm going to start calling him Yahweh now, because saying that is a lot.
It's a tongue twister.
Do you know who Yahweh is, by the way?
The Lord.
Yes, but it's weird because I believe Yahweh is used in Hebrew religion.
Oh.
And that's weird that he's saying Jewish people are the oppressors.
I don't know. I would have to ask Hannah. Interesting.
I looked
Interesting.
it up. I looked it up because I found. Remember when I told you about that woman, and she wouldn't let this bus driver go, and she was saying all this weird stuff and talking about Yahweh.
Yeah.
That's why I knew, because I looked it up. Like, what is Yahweh? Anyway, those who Yahweh trusted most were given special access to him. He called them the Brotherhood, and they became Yahweh's eyes, ears, and fists in the outside world.
Ooh.
As Yahweh built himself up through a series of legal businesses paid for by the money of his followers.
Naturally.
Right. The brothers had vengeance on anyone who spoke against their leader.
So pretty much if you're talking shit, you're going to get hit.
Yes.
Okay.
Within a year, Yahweh and the Nation of Yahweh purchased multiple buildings in Miami. From there, his followers spread the message, bringing in new people.
The dramatic pause had me.
The Nation of Yahweh grew with each passing day. This was when Robert first heard of Yahweh ben Yahweh. Robert joined the Nation of Yahweh and changed his name to Neriah Israel, child of God.
Here we go, switching up identities and losing ourselves again.
The passion Robert once showed on the football field was renewed and used to help the Nation of Yahweh. Robert moved into the Temple of Love in Miami and spent every moment of his time working for Yahweh.
Yerking for Huawei.
He attended every sermon and listened as Yahweh spoke of the evils of the blue-eyed devils and the need for God's true children to stand against them. He was talking about white people.
Okay.
Robert worked his way up the ranks of the Nation of Yahweh. He found the home he was searching for, and he wasn't going to mess up this opportunity like he had in the past. Yahweh noticed the former NFL player. He saw Robert's determination, strength, and the desperate need for acceptance. The makings of a great cult follower.
Yeah, because he's down and out on his luck, and he can't get another job in his profession, so what is he going to do?
Take advantage.
Yeah.
Yahweh offered Robert the opportunity to join the upper ranks of the nation of Yahweh and became a member of the Brotherhood. Robert jumped at the chance. He had found his calling and he wasn't about to let it pass him by. Around September 5th, 1986, Yahweh handed Robert a white robe and a white turban. Balanced on the top of it was a 12-inch blade. Yahweh explained to Robert that to become a member of the Brotherhood, he would have to prove his worth.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
So now I'm going to go into the first victim.
Oh, God.
Raymond Kelly drank more than he should have, but not so much that he was dumb enough to try to drive home. As the bars of Miami closed up, the mechanic...
He called it Uber.
Nope.
Uber X.
He laid down in his car in the parking lot of the TP Lounge and let the light winds flowing through the open windows drift him off to sleep.
Did you write that?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I definitely didn't.
Oh, fuck, you copy and pasted, bitch.
Only that part, because I was like, I don't know how to fix that. He left the windows open.
Okay. The tropical breeze caressed his skin.
As Kelly slept, Robert and fellow member of the Brotherhood, Carl Perry, walked the streets of South Miami looking for the right person. The qualifications were minimal. The right person was white, male, female, tall, short. None of that mattered. They were just white.
Okay.
So
now we gotta sit and duck. We gotta sit and drunk duck.
As long as they were white, they would do. Still, Robert couldn't settle on anyone. He and his partner passed. Too many couples, too many bystanders, too much light, not enough light. There was always something getting in the way.
I wonder what he was feeling. He's probably nervous. Maybe angry.
Probably anxious.
I'd be anxious.
The two men cut through the TP Lounge parking lot when they saw Kelly sleeping. Robert pulled out his sword and started walking up to the car. He thought of what Yahweh taught him. When they kill one of us, we kill one of them.
An eye for an eye makes the whole world blind.
It was basically the way of Nation of Yahweh. For every dead black man, a white man had to pay.
Just any old?
Anyone.
Okay.
So Robert put his sword into Raymond Kelly's chest. He pulled...
What color was the car?
Don't know. Doesn't say.
Okay.
So Robert pulled the blade out and stabbed again and again. Kelly never woke up. He never made a sound. Robert was shaking as adrenaline pumped through his veins. He needed to bring a token back to Yahweh, proof that he had carried out his mission.
Is he going to scalp him? That's what they used to do with the Native Americans. Or that's what the Native Americans used to do.
So Robert took his blade and cut off Kelly's right ear. Pay attention to this.
Okay.
Between the shaking and the blood, Robert lost his grip on the ear and it fell from his hand. He searched around Kelly and the ground around him and he couldn't find the ear anywhere.
Oh my God.
He was worried that it was taking too long, so he cut off the left ear and left.
Okay,
so he left the right ear.
The right ear is somewhere. It's going to be a snack for a rat.
When he presented the ear to Yahweh, Robert was named a Death Angel, a title given to select members of the Brotherhood. Yahweh was so proud of Robert that he let the newest member of his elite squad out of his chores the next day to celebrate. Robert went to the movies.
Oh, I wonder what he saw. Breakfast at Tiffany's at the matinee? The fuck?
So we're going to go to the second victim.
Oh, God.
Cecil Branch, or Big Man, as his friends called him, wasn't a fan of the Nation of Yahweh. On more than one occasion, he has been harassed by the members of the cult who stood on the streets asking for donations.
Okay, was he not a fan of the cult, or was he a racist white man?
It doesn't say.
Okay.
Usually, Branch would make his way past them without saying anything and nothing happening.
Right.
But on this day, something pushed Branch over the edge. As a woman from the cult asked for a donation, Branch shoved her away. The woman screamed out and the other members began yelling, "Yahweh, Yahweh!"
Oh, no.
No
way.
As Branch drove off, one of the members took down his license plate. 3 members of the Brotherhood visited Branch at his home before they could carry out...
How did they find him? Because of his license plate? They meandered the city until they found that license plate?
They put it into a system.
What fucking system was around in the 80s?
I don't know. I'm scared.
It wasn't Google.
3 members of the Brotherhood visited Branch at his home. Before they could carry out their mission, Branch chased them off. They returned to Yahweh and explained their failure. Yahweh sent out 4 of his death angels, including Robert. The death angels forced their way into Branch's home, tied him to a chair, gagged him. The Death Angels proceeded to stab Branch 25 times before cutting off his right ear. Next victims.
Okay.
Rudy Bossart and Anthony Brown weren't happy about the Nation of Yahweh buying the apartment building they lived in.
Okay. How many do we have, like a timeline? You know, I love a good timeline.
This is Halloween, 1986.
What was the previous one? Was it like the same year? Are we looking at? I don't know if you have it. I'm just curious for me own mental calendar. If you don't have it, it's fine.
I do. I just said it. It's September.
Oh, if it was September, was it the same year? 86?
1986.
Okay, so this was literally...
No, I lied. September 5th, 1986 was when Robert got into.
Oh, okay. So then he's on victim 3 within it just passed a month, and now it's October.
Yeah.
Okay, so the beginning of September, he's like, hey guys, I'm here.
I'm ready to
Killed
do this.
2 people. Now we're at the end of October. Okay.
Yeah.
And we're ready for a 3rd victim.
So Rudy Bossart and Anthony Brown weren't happy about the Nation of Yahweh buying the apartment building they lived in, and they let their frustration be known to anyone who would listen.
Now, does it say like who the police thought were doing these murders at this time?
No,
because like you have 2 people dead, and I feel like if people are thinking maybe I shouldn't be saying things about this possible cult because they might have a little some to do with the missing.
People paid attention.
Oh God! Well, people are dropping dead like flies around here.
So on Halloween 1986, Yahweh sent Robert along with 2 other death angels to silence the men.
Oh God!
Rudy was lured out of his apartment and shot in the head. Brown heard the shot and ran. Robert caught up and tackled Brown to the ground. As Brown begged for his life, one of the death angels pulled the trigger in front of a group of witnesses. Robert was arrested that night, and he offered to tell the authorities everything he knew.
Damn, homeboy made it 2 months. Almost.
As Robert filled in the police and FBI on the actions of the Nation of Yahweh, other members of the Brotherhood committed an endless list of horrible crimes, including the firebombing of a black neighborhood in Delray Beach, which is weird to me.
Right, I thought they were on the white people. Does it explain any details on that?
No, it just says Yahweh's public persona grew, and he was seen as a hero. The Nation of Yahweh opened grocery stores and drove out drug dealers in low-income neighborhoods. They built schools and apartment buildings. They emphasized the importance of hard work. The Nation of Yahweh branched out of Miami and into other American cities. Yahweh, a man who claimed to be the rebirth of Jesus Christ and called for the death of Jews, was accepted by other millionaires as their own. On October 7th, 1990, Yahweh appeared before the Miami Chamber of Commerce, where Mayor Xavier proclaimed the day be marked as Yahweh Ben Yahweh Day.
Which day is that?
October 7th.
Mark your calendars.
A month later, Yahweh would be
Wait,
arrested.
was this in 1987?
1990, we're at.
Oh, fuck. You did literally just say that, because in my head I was like, what happened? So is, what's his name in jail then?
Yeah, I'll get to that.
I get eager. I'm sorry.
Closing it out.
Okay, yeah. Close it out, girl.
A month later, Yahweh would be arrested for crimes including conspiracy to commit murder. Robert was the state's key witness. The judge threw out a 3rd charge against Yahweh due to lack of evidence. In the end, Yahweh was convicted on RICO charges. Don't know what that is. Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act. So, Robert spent a decade in prison. He was placed under witness protection in his release in 1996.
Okay, so he murdered 1, 2, 3 people, and he's out in 10 years, 1996.
Who, Robert?
Yeah.
Oh, just wait. There's more.
Oh, great.
On February 5th, 1999, police in Cameron Park, California arrested Robert Ramses for bouncing a $66 check to an auto parts store. As Ramses sat in a cell, Cameron Park police tracked a total of 29 bounced checks for video rentals, groceries, and bar tabs totaling more than $2,000, enough to bring the misdemeanor charge up to a felony. Ramses then confessed to more than the checks. He revealed that his real name was Robert Rosier.
So he kept his first name?
Yep.
Fucking dumbass.
Robert was sure that once the Cameron police checked, they would realize they couldn't charge him with the checks. He was wrong. The state of California not only charged Robert with fraud, but under their 3-strike law, the conviction meant that his sentence could be nothing less than 25 to life.
Okay. All right. So, let's just take a look at what just happened. Man murders 3 people, confesses, gets 10 years in prison.
Yes. He had 3 strikes. There's a 3-strike law in California that if you get
Okay, so now we're talking about baseball, bitch.
3 times in California, you don't get anything less than 25 to life.
Okay, so now his checks bounced, and that was the fucking turning point.
That was the 3rd strike.
That was his 3rd strike. That was his that's what sent him to jail for 25 to life. Not the murders.
Nope.
Okay, great.
Checks.
Okay, no, I'm just checking. America, this is you.
So, Robert is currently serving his sentence in Mule Creek State Prison, home of Charles Manson and Lyle Mendez. He will be up for parole in 2024. And that is the story of Robert.
I don't even know what to say. I'm like...
Wasn't it good?
Yeah. Doesn't help the fact that I get pissed about shit. That was interesting. Thank you for sharing. I never heard of them before.
You're welcome.
I never even heard of him before. Sports, what are they? Did he have a job? Like, why was he writing so many bad checks?
He didn't have a job. That's why he was.
Why didn't he try to get a job? Where was he staying?
He was trying to, he basically took,
Okay, I understand if you're struggling and your check might bounce from groceries, which it did, but like he was at the bar.
Well,
he had
I didn't mention that he spent some time like trying to find his way. So he was just like going from one place to another. He was in Canada at one point.
Not a kind man.
No. He
I
just
think we
wanted
can
to
say.
find his way.
Let's kill a couple people just to be accepted into this group.
That's true.
Listen, he could just work at Applebee's. They're like a family there. It's your neighborhood barbecue, isn't that their thing? Wow, football! Go long, Hail Mary. I like football. Football's fun.
Yay!
We won the Super Bowl.
We did. Go Birds.
I prefer baseball though.
Okay. Do you got a story? Oh no, yours is skateboard.
Yeah, I would just wanted to talk sports with the guys. You know.
Who's guys?
Also, because in football they have butt padding, but in baseball you can see the baseball butts. And I
that's
mean,
what you're here for.
As great as the game is, I'm here for the butts.
You're here for the butts.
Yeah. It's kind of like why straight guys watch the Victoria's Secret fashion show. I know they're not interested in the poly cotton blend. Same way I'm not interested in their RBIs.
Oh.
Okay? But we're not here to talk about butts and boobs and baseball. We're here to talk about skateboarding, which is a sport. If you don't think it's a sport, bring your board and meet me
at the
Shake Shack.
Half pint. What is it?
Half
pipe.
That's what people call you, half pint. Half pipe. You're going to get half decked in the face. Okay, so on April 10th, 1991, a young boy was riding his four-wheeler in the desert when he stumbled upon a human skeleton.
Oh.
So due to the harsh desert conditions, the body was decomposed so bad that it was unidentifiable. Now let's rewind 25 years before this. On August 10th, 1966, Mark Anthony Rogowski, who was nicknamed Gator, go Gators,
go Gators,
was born in Brooklyn, New York. He moved with his mother and his oldest brother to San Diego at age 3 following his parents' divorce. And he never spoke to or saw his father again. So years later, Mark, his mother, and brother ended up in Escondido, which is a middle-class suburb north of San Diego County. I think it's like right near the San Diego Zoo.
Oh.
So it was a town that was filled with surfers, malls, churches, and there was a pretty big population of younger kids. So then that's pretty much where 7-year-old Mark discovered skateboarding. And by age 14, Mark was a professional skateboarder.
Whoa.
Yeah, so between 1979 and 1982, nobody was really skating outside of a small ring of kids. Most people at the time had no motivation to go professional because there technically wasn't much to do if you went professional.
Right.
It was kind of just like a hobby. So Mark later expressed how unique skating was he said when a group of skaters would gather at a skate park, you could tell like which city each skater came from based on their style.
I love.
Yeah, and he said he appreciated that. He also liked it because it wasn't structured like baseball, which he played before and he didn't really like. And he said it wasn't like any other sport. It was more individual and there were like no rules really. And he kind of looked at it more of like a sport in an art form, I guess, like dancing.
Right.
So then there was a rebirth of the skating scene in the mid 80s, and Mark and his skating buddies were basically the pioneers of that. So vert skating became really popular, and vert skating is basically like skating on a ramp. It's going like from horizontal stance to a vertical stance to a horizontal stance, and then like going up and doing like a fucking goddamn trick in the air. You get it, I get it. Kick flick, ollie,
Kick
3-6,
flick.
mix spin, half pipe, quarter pounder with cheese. You get it. So then in 1981, Thrasher magazine was founded and people started piquing an interest in the sport. Mark and his friends were on the cover of some of these magazines by the mid 80s.
Wow.
And he was pretty much at the top with fellow vert skater, Mr. Tony Hawk. When he was 16, a company called Skate Vision approached him. It was a company that sold skatewear and skateboards and wheels and trucks and shit. They would get cameramen to film skaters doing tricks and shit. They would put some dope music to it, and then they would take that tape and they would play it on a TV in the store, and kids would just like gather in the shop and just like watch it all day, like kids from the surrounding areas. Because remember, obviously there was no YouTube, it wasn't even really on TV at this time. So
there's a bar in South Philly and it plays just like skate videos.
What bar?
I forget.
Oh, okay, that sounds fun though.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so younger kids who were into skateboarding had the chance to see these really talented people do really incredible shit, because let's face it, like nobody was really as good as Mark and his friends and Tony Hawk and shit at the time. So the younger kids didn't really have anybody to look up to besides a face on the street. And now they were like, wow, this guy's like in a shop being played on a TV. It's so cool. So like kids would just come to Skate Vision and they would just buy shit and just hang out in the store all day. Another reason that these videos were such a big deal, especially in Skate Vision's marketing plan, keep the word marketing plan tucked in your asshole, was because mostly everyone who had seen like professional skateboarders, it was on the cover of a magazine. So on the cover of a magazine, it's like one snapshot, which is like just one frame of like a really awesome trick these people were doing. So now with, video format, people were like, oh shit, you can like see them in action. You're like, wow, these people are actually really cool. It's really like mesmerizing to watch them. So skating, to say the least, blew up because of these videos. In turn, Skate Vision blew up, and in turn, Mark Gator Rogowski also blew up. And if you watch some of these skate videos, for some reason, they remind me of like cheap pornos in the sense that it's like a skit kind of. Like at the beginning, it's literally Mark coming out of his house and he hears his mom like, Mark, did you make your bed? And he's literally turns the camera. He's like, yeah, right, mom. That's bogus. And he jumps on his fucking board. God damn it. I love the 80s. So at this time, this was when Mark went by Gator. That was like his thing. Like he didn't have a last name. He didn't have a first name. He was like Cher, but from the Everglades. Dude, he was a Gator. Yeah. But I'm going to call him Mark. So through these videos, he started to really get his image. He was portrayed as like the rebellious rock star. He had the image, he had the body type, he had the artsy style. He was kind of known for wearing a Levi's jacket with the sleeves cut off, and he would wear different colored Vans on each foot. And younger kids would see this, they would cop that look, they would copy it, take that shit to school, be like, yo, you don't know shit about this, gang. So Vision Streetwear changed up their style, all of which was inspired by Mark, who...
I think that's still a thing.
What?
Vision Skateboard.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It is. Mark had his hand in some of the designs. So prior to this, skaters wore pretty much denim with patches, flannel, patterned shirts. But what they're about to do was kind of what started the big branding shit. When you see those kids with the Thrasher t-shirts on today, and I'm like, you like Thrasher? Name 3 of their songs. But pretty much using a logo on things started to associate people who wore them with the skating subculture. And it was a community people wanted to be a part of, and companies really profited off of this. This is when, like, look, I know Thrasher shirts are trendy again. Mm-hmm. But if you don't skate and you're wearing it...
You're a poser.
Okay, all right. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. If you don't skate and you're wearing a Thrasher shirt and you can tell me something, and you can tell me that it's not a band, that it's actually a magazine that started in the 80s and it's for skateboarding, then maybe we'll talk. But I can understand how people get so pissed at posers because you're wearing it as a fashion statement when it really kind of belongs to this subculture sport. Even though if you really take a step back at it and look at it, it's kind of just a company that's trying to profit off of these people.
Right, and it's a magazine.
Yeah. All right. I don't wear Thrasher. I don't fucking skate. I haven't even mastered the art of riding an escalator, but that's besides the point. Okay, so by age 17, Mark was the design consultant for Vision Streetwear. He designed the clothes, the skateboard graphics, the watches, everything. He wore them. People fucking bought them. He had his own line of skater boards, which were gator boards. Gator skater boards. They were running for like $99 for the complete board with the trucks and the wheels and the shit. And he was getting a pretty big percentage of those sales because before he was 20 years old, homeboy was making almost 6 figures from the skateboards alone.
Love.
That's not showing up at gigs, getting paid for it. That's not getting paid to do these videos. That's just from the sales alone. Okay? But he did not have a manager. It was just him and this company and a contract.
I'm looking up his picture.
And he was quick to forget. Well, don't fucking look it up. It's going to ruin everything.
I'm just looking up the pictures.
It's gonna ruin everything. Close your laptop. Ruin my damn story. Get out of here. Scram.
I just want to see what he looks like.
I know, he was cute, right? Okay, yeah, so it was just him and this company, and he was quick to forget, where he came from. He didn't know much about business. So then there was this huge skating event in a park somewhere in Virginia Beach. It was a beautiful day. 89.
How did you get there?
Clear skies. Virginia Beach.
Yeah.
A fucking car. I don't goddamn know. So there's this ramp in the middle. It's like an open field. And it's clearly near the beach. And there's this ramp in the middle that has a chain link fence around it. And outside of that chain link fence was about 400 young teens and kids that were there to see these professional skaters.
Whoa.
So it was an official event. So they had the permits to be there and shit. It was run by, I want to say Visions. It might have also been Thrasher, but there was security and cops that were hired. So the cops were there to make sure everybody was safe. So Mark shows up late. He shows up to the venue after the 400 plus fans have already been there. And he's on the outside of that and he has to get to the center of it, right? So now it's kind of like a safety thing, right? So security wasn't letting him in because he didn't have his wristband on either. Otherwise he would have been escorted. Right. And they don't fucking know who he is. So he gets on his board and he starts skating up towards the ramp on this path, and they're like, this cop jumps in his car and starts literally like chasing him with their lights on. It's literally straight out of a fucking movie. You can see the video of it on YouTube. So when he gets to the chain link fence, Mark stops his board. The cop gets out of his car and tries to stop Mark. Mark spins around and fucking socks him in the face.
With the board?
No, his fist. Just straight up punches a police officer in the face. So naturally, he's tackled by other police officers. They arrest him. But before they take him away, kids start throwing rocks at the cops. And like, I'm not sure if there were any injuries. I didn't see any reported.
History really repeats itself.
But they were able to fucking break the cop car windows. Just imagine like hundreds of kids.
I love this.
Fucking throwing rocks at you. That's what I imagine it would be like being like a substitute teacher at a public school.
Literally.
I couldn't handle it. We love our teachers who listen. So thanks for the work you do. Obviously, they took him away. He went to jail. Obviously, Mark had a shit ton of money and Vision Skate was able to bail him out. It was no chip off the old block.
Right.
I didn't finish that sentence there, and I
bail.
didn't know what I was trying to say.
What did you say, chip?
It says, Mark had a shit ton of money, and Vision Skate was able to bail him out, so it was no just chip off the old block, I guess. So then Thrasher published a magazine with him being arrested on the cover, and it was honestly great PR for him. Not gonna lie, people said this was the moment that like solidified his legend and what really made him look like a badass, but it also really inflated his ego. It kind of gave a lot of skaters everywhere a bad rep, but also the skaters didn't really care because they were like, fuck the pigs, fuck the cops. Like, yeah. So, he even said like in an interview, he had like sunglasses on and a sideways hat and he's lounging back in a chair next to an in-ground pool and he's calmly talking about how he can get away with anything.
Oh, love.
And then he says he loves getting arrested.
I love getting arrested.
I mean, objectively looking at it, skating was like outlawed. Nobody wanted it anywhere, especially before they really had parks.
Still like that.
It was like a disturbance of the peace. People would break rules, break bread, break laws. So like if a motel drained their pool, like people would be vert skating in that bitch. Also, Phillip Love Park in Philadelphia.
Yeah, they were like, peace, Love Park. We're taking this down.
Well, okay, so Love Park was a park that Philadelphia is very known for. If y'all know about like the love statue, it's like the LO, and then under it, it's the VE, and the O is kind of a little cock-eyed. And it was like a park, but honestly, people didn't really go to that park if it wasn't Christmas, because Christmas is when they kind of put the shit there.
Right.
So it kind of just got invaded by skateboarders, and it happened in the 80s, and then the cops pushed them back and like didn't want them there, and then the governor didn't want anybody to skate there, and then it became legal for them to skate before they closed down Love Park in I want to say maybe December. So when it was slushy and ice out, the fucking governor was just like, you know what? You kids deserve it. It's legal to skateboard here the month before we fucking start construction.
And when it's slushy out.
And honestly, I don't really know what happened. I haven't been there in so long. Because I know
it looks like it's literally grass.
Yeah, so...
That's it.
No more. That's sad. They didn't really have somewhere... They don't really have many places to skate like that in the city.
And what they do is they cap the ledges.
Yeah.
They'll like...
So nobody can skate on it. And also so homeless people don't sleep on it. So it's like, no fun here. And our homeless youth, you ain't sleeping here.
Right.
Gotta love it. All right. So again, young teens and kids, they followed in Mark's footsteps. Everybody was breaking rules, rebellious, all that fucking shit. Mark and his friends partied, and bitch, that shit got wild. So Mark, for some fucking reason, was always getting naked. Oh my God, this is like full circle. Do you remember when I first met you and I would get super drunk and take my pants off?
Nope.
When we fell out of the windowsill and your boyfriend was downstairs with his friends and we didn't know it was you, and we were standing in the window ledge outside of, and we literally fell and the RA came because we knocked the,
I remember that.
And everybody, all his friends were downstairs looking at me in my no pants, and they were like, who's that boy not wearing clothes?
And they
with
saw
your
you
girl?
fall because there was like one time, like 1 second you were up and then you were down.
Yeah. So, where were we? Oh, okay. So
I was
Mark,
like, my boyfriend knew.
at the time, Mark was always getting naked for some reason. He would run around hotels naked. People would scream. He loved shock value. It was his thing. He would skate naked. He would have photographers take pictures of him doing like an Ollie 360 with his Ollie butthole open.
Love that.
I don't know. It was his thing. Him and his friends would make videos naked together, man. Like, no homo, man. It's not gay, but $20 is $20. I'm not gay, but think about my girlfriend. I'm having major PTSD flashbacks of like my MySpace inbox from football players from my high school. Anyway, shout out if you're listening. I know you still stalk me. So in the late 1980s, 16-year-old Brandy McLean and her best friend Jessica Bergsten went to a skate show. Brandy met Mark, who at this time, Brandy's 16 and Jessica's 16, and Mark was in his late teens or his early 20s. I'm not exactly sure what year. I mean, that's weird if he's like in his early 20s, but he might have been in his late teens. He might have been 18.
Okay.
It depends on what year this was.
Right.
But their age gap wasn't too much, but that's still kind of, you're right. It's age ain't nothing but a number, Aaliyah. So it was love at first sight. Brandy lived at home, which was hours away. I'm not exactly sure where it was, but she had to take a flight or a long ass road trip to get where they were at this time. She was still in high school, but
was probably really cute and pretty for him to like her.
Oh, baby.
Was
Just wait.
not?
So Mark would send her letters almost every single day. They would talk on the phone. Her mom knew about it, wasn't wild about it because her mom like knew who he was because he was starting to be bigger in the public eye. Then Mark started flying her out for the weekends. And when she was 17, he took her to this massive house on acres and motherfucking acres of beautiful land. No. Sorry, I didn't mean to knock that down so quick, but no. In Fallbrook, California, it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere, but not exactly. Like, to get to his house, it's kind of in the middle of nowhere, but there's kind of a town, but it's...
So that's his house?
Yes. The mansion Mark took her to literally looked kind of like a vineyard. If you can imagine how, like, a hilly vineyard would be laid out, that was, like, the side of his yard.
And he had a good taste?
Yeah. It wasn't vineyard. It wasn't a vineyard. They weren't grapes. They were avocados.
Oh.
That's avocados.
I know.
Okay. So Fallbrook, California was in the boonies. The mansion, surprise, surprise, was Mark's new house, and he asked Brandy to move in.
Whoa.
And it was a really fucking weird shape. It was like a
show
circle.
me her picture?
Yes, I will get there, I promise.
I'm getting antsy.
She talked to her mom. Her mom didn't want her to go. She talked to her best friend, Jessica, and Jessica didn't want her to go, but Mark was massive. He had #1 selling skateboard in the world. He had money. He had talent. He was hotter than all the Jonas Brothers combined. So Brandy, moved in. And not to mention,
What's
Brandy...
up with skateboarders being like that?
What?
Like cocky and like they're all like really cute but cocky.
I don't fucking know. I wish I goddamn knew. Not to mention, Brandy McLean was hot. No homo, but I'd take her ass to Olive Garden after she was 18.
What did she look like?
I'll show you. Hold on. I'll pull it up on my phone.
I knew she had to be for him to like her because he has the ego the size of Texas.
I'm going to look her up, but I don't want you to swipe on here because it's going to ruin some shit because this has a good twist that you probably think you know right now. Oh, fuck. Okay, so she doesn't have many pictures because she was young and went incognito. I'll find some really good pictures after this, but hold on. I'm going to show you one right now.
Okay.
But don't look them up.
All right. It's just killing me. Like, I just haven't.
All right. It's a screenshot. No scrolling. I told you no scrolling. Why you scroll? I hand you my phone and you scroll. I told you no scroll. No left, no right, no scroll. You fucking did that.
I thought it was Kobe Calais.
No, it's like...
Did she rise up to be Kobe
Stop!
Calais?
You're ruining my story.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Okay. Everybody listen up. So, Mark and Brandy, they starred in Tom Petty's Free Fall music video. That's the picture I just showed you, which I highly suggest everyone to go watch. But literally, I'm going to watch it. You have to fucking wear sunglasses because there's so much neon. There's so many patterns, but it's the epitome of the 80s. It's fucking gorgeous. Loves it. Mark was also a stunt double for major motion pictures involving skating. He was actually Christian Slater's stunt double for a movie. No, babe.
Who was that?
Not MC Hammer. Oh my God, that was AC Slater. I'm getting all my 80s acronyms messed up. Oh God, MySpace. Okay, so Christian Slater, he's from Heathers.
Oh,
he's an actor.
right. Okay, yeah.
He was his stunt double for a movie that I didn't fucking write down because suck my asshole. So Mark and his professional skater friends were on Club MTV with Downtown Julie Brown. You know who that is? The VJ from MTV. Just nod and say yes.
Yes.
She was cute. She was all that, and she had an accent. Cute to boot.
I love a good accent.
He would skate and dance and shit. They seemed like fun dudes, but he had two sides. So according to her parents and family, Brandy said that he would have manic freakouts and break up with her. Then the next day he would cry and beg for her to come back.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Sounds just like a narcissist.
At the same and then he could be loving and just want and give her everything because he had so much money and just wanted her to stay. At the same time, he started becoming a massive asshole to people who liked him. A lot of fans were disappointed when they met him. They say, don't meet your heroes. But I'm going to meet Dolly Parton. So then Mark tried to reinvent himself as Mark Anthony, not Gator. Mark Anthony, that title was already fucking taken by multiple people, so I don't know who he thought he was.
Mark Anthony is a cocoa butter company. Mark Anthony is a singer to J-Lo. Well, was. And
I love how the first, you say cocoa butter is the first. Okay. So up until this point where he's trying to be Mark Anthony, he was being called Gator. Remember, I'm just not calling him Gator, so everybody was referred to him as such. So the new Mark Anthony was the shiny Hollywood type, so people, were classifying him as a fucking sellout. People didn't really like that much. Kids started hating the new Vision streetwear. Mark fell into a trap of manufacturers and companies who were taking advantage of him for his money. They were just corporate entities making a dime off of what was popular in the underground youth culture. Then a lot of skaters in the community stopped wearing Vision streetwear altogether. It was too glam. It was too matchy. It was too far away from where they started in too short amount of time, because remember, all this shit is happening within like a couple years,
right?
So then in the late 80s and early 90s there was another major fucking shift. So the vert skaters were out and the street skaters were in. Nobody wanted to see people on ramps and shit. They wanted to see new skaters who would utilize curbs and fucking fire hydrants and railings and stairs and shit. You get it. So it was a really rough time for the pro skaters because they were kind of no longer a thing. And this wasn't just for Mark. This was for the other professional skaters at this time. It was like a hard time because this is what they were passionate about. This is what they got wildly successful in a very, very short amount of time.
That's how you know it's a red flag.
But you don't know it. And think about it. I know they were doing it as a hobby, but you work so hard to like master the art of something you love. Why wouldn't you want to go that big?
That's true.
You just got to keep your feet planted on the ground. Don't put your head too high in the clouds and just remember who you are, where you started from. And, get some doors opened for yourself on other avenues, because that's why they say, someone's gonna get mad at me, but that's why they say that Rupert Grint isn't really in as many movies after Harry Potter, because, you know, Emma Watson started doing other movies before the franchise ended. Daniel Radcliffe was doing other movies and Broadway before the movies ended. So they kind of had open doors for themselves outside of that role.
Like overlap.
That's the same with Twilight, with Kristen Stewart. I mean, she already had her shit from before that, during that and after that. And same with, what's his name? Fucking Robert Cullen.
Yeah.
What's his name? Edward Cullen, Robert Redford. And then Jacob Sartorius, or whatever his name is. What's his name? Jacob? That was his name in the movie. Oh my God, Taylor Lautner. That's why he isn't really doing anything, because he wasn't working on things while the Twilight was going on. So, right. I mean, it's apples and pears, apple bottom jeans compared to boots with the fur. You get what I'm saying? It's just kind of, you know, you're on fire and you're up there, but then like it can change in an instant and it all comes crashing down. Wow. That got deep.
Yeah.
So Mark was 21 in 1988 and he was an outsider. So by age 21,
yikes,
his flame was already like, he was like kind of donezo. Think about that. He professional by 14, by 17, he was making the streetwear, and 17 to 21.
Done.
Crazy. 0 to 100 and then back to 0 really fucking quick. So Mark and Brandy continued to live in Fallbrook because he might be an outsider, but he stole a lot of fucking money. Brandy told Jessica, who still lived at home. Jessica was her best friend. So Brandy told Jessica, who still lived at her hometown, that she felt very isolated, that she thought Mark potentially wanted her to feel isolated. And his friends stopped visiting him because it was so fucking far out of the way for everybody. Nobody else really lived there.
Right.
And some of his friends who did live in the area, because it was like the bougie area to be, you know, in your own little place, those people moved back to a place called Carlsbad, which is in California, but it's more on the coast. So eventually Mark moved out of his Fallbrook mansion and back to the coast, to Carlsbad. He attempted street skating, but people literally laughed at him. He was old news.
Yikes.
He was a sellout. And on top of it, he was an alcoholic, and he was very angry and aggressive. One day, a little kid asked for his autograph. Mark said no. The kid was persistent. Mark punched the child in the face. That's like your last remaining fan.
Yikes.
A child. And you fucking sock him in the face. He had a huge rage problem. There were some psychological problems that were always there, but people didn't really see. Again, he was an alcoholic, just a very troubled person. He didn't really want to talk to anybody about his issues. And this was also in 1988.
A narcissist.
When mental health wasn't taken as seriously.
Right.
So in 1990 in Germany, there was a World Cup event. Mark and his friends were there. Just hanging out. Some sponsors still were giving them money to go do this shit. Mark got so drunk that his friends lost him. He climbed out of a hotel window and landed on top of a fence some stories below. He came back upstairs to the friend's hotel room. His arm was fucked up. His hands, and his neck. It punctured through all that shit. It's disgusting. I saw pictures of it. And he was gushing blood. One of his friends said that it sounded like, quote, someone was pouring a steady stream of soda out of a can and onto the floor, but it was blood. Yeah, homeboy was not in good shape. So at the hospital, he raged and he was acting like a person who was on PCP. But the hospital tests proved that he wasn't on any drugs. He got stitches. And the next day had no recollection of it.
Love that.
It's like that time. Do you remember when we were climbing the fence because we got locked out of the house after we stole the cat from that party, and we hopped the fence and I shattered my heel?
I remember that. You were so pissed.
And yeah, because I fucking shattered my heel and then we had to break in the window to get in.
How did we get in?
I don't remember,
The
but
front door.
No.
It was because the key was by the lock and we were able
to. Oh fuck! We broke through the window
with that boy and you were so mad.
Oh my god! Because literally our front window was a half a story
and
up.
I fell off.
No, I fell off. And you didn't help me because you were talking to the boy. Remember? I was like, Sarah, I could use your help. And
I thought I fell from the garbage. I was standing on it.
You were standing on the garbage. You fell into the garbage. I was on the windowsill. And I fell out of the windowsill because you were talking to that dude. You were flirting and I was fucking pissed. And then homeboy had the audacity to ask me for a cigarette. I sent him on his way with my shattered heel and a cat we stole.
Love that.
But then the next day we like barely recollected it. See, we still don't have our story straight. But yeah, we stole a cat from a party. So anyway, Mark felt like he was missing a purpose. He was missing his meaning and direction. So, babe, guess what he picked up?
God.
He sure did. He picked up that Bible. So Corinthians 4:20, blaze it. Am I right? So he went to church every Sunday. He surrounded himself with Christians. He prayed a lot, and he wanted a life apart from skating. Everyone thought it was a gimmick. He began pressuring Brandy into becoming a born-again Christian with him. He pressured her into going to church, but she wasn't with it. She was like, nah, that's cool. That's not my thing. He started acting like a totally different person and not in a good way. So she left. She moved back in with her mother, and she found another man. Mark didn't like that. So Mark started stalking Brandy. He broke into her parents' home. He stole everything he gave her, including her car. He left threatening messages on the phone, threatening to kill her and her family. And, Brandy and her mom feared him. So Mark wanted to hurt Brandy emotionally so fucking bad. So he met with Jessica Bergston, Brandy's best friend. A few days later, Jessica went missing. So Jessica's father, Stephen Bergston, was a Tuscan lawyer. He had a lot of scandals on his plate at the time. One of his clients was under investigation by Arizona Drug Task Force, while rumors were spreading that he himself was being investigated for money laundering. But when his daughter stopped calling soon after leaving for Southern California, Stephen flew to San Diego to help police find her. He plastered the entire county with missing persons posters. Accompanying her photo were her vital statistics. Just for your information, she was 5'8", 115 pounds, blonde hair, blue eyes, fair complexion. And it also had, obviously, the telephone number for the San Diego Police Department. Just getting into details. So Stephen talked to her friends. He met with Mark to see if Mark knew where she was. Mark was worried and apologetic. He said he hadn't seen her in days. Nobody seemed to know anything about where Jessica Bergston had gone. 2 months went by without any leads. So after those 2 months, one of the posters remained plastered up next to a phone booth outside of a 7-Eleven, which was 2 blocks away from Mark's condo. The 7-Eleven was right next to the beach. There was a pizza shop next door, and it was naturally a hangout spot for young surfers and skateboarders. It was also a favorite place for Mark and his minister, Augie Constantino, to preach their message of Christianity to the youngsters that were hanging out. So for Constantino, Mark was terrific bait for young skaters who, for some fucking reason, even after he socked a kid in the face, these people were willing to, listen to just about anything just to meet Mark. So Constantino later stated, quote, "One night at the 7-Eleven, Mark and I were witnessing, and I saw a young girl with what they call a miniskirt. I call them towels. I said to her, 'Go put on some clothes. Come back. I'd like to talk to you about Christ.' And she said, 'I've got nothing to worry about. I've got no problems.' So I pointed to the poster. 'What about that girl?' I said. 'She had nothing to worry about. But where is she now? She could have been involved in drugs, pornography. Maybe she's dead.' The girl just ignored us and jumped into her car, but I got a strange reaction out of Mark. He just kind of stood there, blank and silent." So one night after Bible study at Constantino's house, Mark returned to his house with tears streaming down his face. Quote, this is Constantino saying this. "I was getting ready for bed when I answered the door. Mark was crying, and he said he was Judas. We both sat and cried. We prayed for about an hour, asking God what we should do. About a week later, he came to me and he said, 'Remember that girl in the poster? She was the one I killed.'" So this is when Constantino, his minister friend, told Mark as he drove him to the police department early the morning of May 5th. This is what Constantino said. "I said to him, quote, 'Mark, you don't need a lawyer. You don't need innocent until proven guilty. What do you need a lawyer for if you answer to a higher power? If a person is accountable to God, then he's accountable to society. The Bible says that.' Mark didn't come to me as a minister. He came to me as a friend. Anyway, I'm not an ordained minister."
Love.
He knew exactly what was going to happen. So now this fucking Constantino dude is like, this is what I said to him. Maybe it wasn't a good idea because I'm not actually a fucking minister. I just call myself a minister. Well, I don't know the difference between a minister and an ordained minister. I think ordained ministers can just marry people, but at the same time, I don't really give a hoot.
Love that.
So the police were astonished that Mark was turning himself in for a murder that they didn't even fucking know happened. Though Jessica's body had been found in the desert the month prior, April 10th, remember they found the human skeleton? To the police, that and the unidentified body were not linked in any way.
Yikes.
Yeah. So they weren't like, they had the fact that Jessica was missing and they had this body and they weren't like, let's put two and two together. So the next morning, Mark led detectives to where he had buried the body. Then the truth was revealed. Are you ready? On Wednesday, March 20th.
Randy is Colby Kelly. Sorry.
On Wednesday, March 20th, Jessica and Mark had lunch at an Italian restaurant, then returned to his condo with some movies and a few bottles of wine. She stayed the night. Then the following day, March 21st, 1991, Jessica was sitting on the floor behind the couch, packing her belongings, getting ready to leave. That is when Mark hit her in the head with a club. She fell to the floor with blood gushing from her head, so much so that it soaked right through the carpet. And the club that he hit her with was actually, it's like called The Club. My grandpa used to have it. It's like a, you put it on your steering wheel. It's like an anti-auto theft device. It's like a steel bar. Yeah. So that's what he used. He hit her in the head a couple of times. So trigger warning, this next part is kind of brutal. So after striking her, Mark carried her upstairs, handcuffed her to his bedposts, and sexually assaulted her for 3 hours. Jessica, who was still conscious, begged for him to stop, occasionally screaming. In an attempt to silence her screaming, he uncuffed her from the bed and put her in a surfboard bag. When she continued to scream, Mark strangled her to death. He then flipped over the mattress to hide the blood that was there. He put Jessica's body, her cut-up clothing, the bag, the handcuffs, and the club into the trunk of his car. After driving for 2 hours into the desert, Mark pulled off the highway to a desolate area called Shell Canyon. He buried her naked body in a very shallow grave. As he drove back to Carlsbad, he tossed her blood-stained clothes, his sheets, and the club out the window. On the way back to the condo, he rented a carpet steamer, and he cleaned every spot of blood from the rug that he could. When police came to question him about the disappearance weeks later, they entered his house and found no evidence on the property. The police continued to compile evidence in the case, which Mark decided to plead not guilty to the murder charge. You have your hand up?
Just a thought. It's so weird. You see all these people driving. How many do you think just committed a murder?
In the world?
Yeah.
Dude, I used to fucking say that when I worked at Wegmans. I rang up so many people at this grocery store that I was like, I looked statistically at how many times you randomly pass like a serial killer or someone on the streets.
Right.
Maybe not even a serial killer. Maybe someone who just murdered someone once.
Right.
Like I probably rang at least one person. I was there for 2 years and I had to have gone through hundreds of people a day.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Damn.
It's crazy to think about that shit, but don't think too much because your mind goes to crazy places.
Oh, I know.
Sometimes you don't come back
on a regular basis.
Heard that.
I'm always paranoid.
Mm-hmm. So the police continue to compile evidence in the case. Like I said, Mark was pleading not guilty to the murder charge, but they found bloodstains under his carpet and a carpet cleaning receipt from this same day. So he was charged with special circumstances, committing a murder during rape, which under California law can warrant the death penalty or life imprisonment without the possibility of parole.
I love that.
Unable to get a lawyer, he was appointed a public defender, self-described glory seeker, John Jimenez. After taking on the case, Jimenez immediately challenged the validity of the confession, saying that Mark's minister had no right to turn him in. Jimenez appealed the rape charge, insisting that the decomposed body showed no signs of forcible rape. Although he never denied that Mark killed Jessica, he suggested it was her own fault. Get your motherfucking pitchforks sharpened, y'all, for this piece of human garbage named John Jimenez. He told reporters that Jessica was a, quote, slut, claiming that she had a long list of people whom she had sadomasochistic sex with.
I love BDSM, okay? And I'm not ashamed.
Including an entire University of Arizona basketball team and a handful of professional skaters. Their names, however, were off the record, and how he got that information was never stated. Quote, hey, it's like Sam Kinison said, some girls just turn Mr. Hand into Mr. Fist. End quote. Are you not furious? This was a lawyer This girl got murdered, and he's literally flipping this damn script.
And saying that he's slut-shaming her. Yes, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter.
And he
though.
didn't, this shit that he's saying, no, I know it doesn't matter, but this shit he's saying, he's pulling out of his ass.
That's even worse.
So, also, Sam Kinison, for those of you who don't know, is an American comedian who I actually covered in episode 14. I looked back where we discussed curse items. Remember that?
Love.
He was one of the guys who tragically died after he read a script that killed everyone who read it. So if you like that shit, episode 14.
Go listen. Yeah.
Shameless self promo. But back to the serious stuff. So eventually, the higher court refused to toss out the rape charge on Jimenez's advice. Mark pled guilty to first-degree murder and rape, thus avoiding the death penalty or life without parole. At the January 1992 hearing in which he entered his plea, Mark submitted a 4-page written statement that hinted at the struggle going on in his mind before the crime, during the crime, and after the crime. In the statement, he admitted that although his original confession was directed by the Lord, in the subsequent 8 months he had been, quote, tempted to dodge responsibility, deceiving myself as well as others, end quote. Oh no. But now, at last, I've been led to a full, true penance and have nothing to hide, thank God. Finally able to express my regret and my sorrow over our loss of Jessica. Over our loss of Jessica.
Sir, you literally hit her with a car, with the club. You raped her while she was conscious.
For 3 hours.
For 3 hours, and then you killed her.
And then buried her body.
In a shallow grave.
Okay, so then Mark tried to explain what he had done. Quote, 2 months prior to the incident, I found myself in the midst of a surprisingly strange and almost uncontrollable feeling. All at the plague of the vile visions and wicked imaginations, and the daily battle to suppress them was overwhelming. It's no exaggeration to say that I became completely enslaved by the devious mental images and inescapable thoughts. Essentially, I became the victim at first.
How are you
the victim at first because I turned my back on God in several ways, thinking I could get through it on my own power. Slave, victim, but I was still expressing regret without deferring blame for my actions. First, sex outside of marriage, promiscuity.
Love.
Premarital sex, the disease of jealousy and unhealthy obsession that so often attaches to these. Secondly, pornography and its addictive character. Thirdly, closing the ears and heart to God's counsel, including partial or non-repentable and disobeying and ignoring the Bible. So people, we must realize, without reduction, the gripping strength and deceptive subtlety of sin. Are you rolling your eyes?
I am.
Goddamn me too. What will it take for us to examine ourselves and listen? The tragedy of an innocent young woman's death? The fall of your favorite celebrity? Okay, perhaps the imprisonment of your best friend or relative. I know the Lord forgave me 2,000 years ago at the cross at Calvary, and although I attempt to forgive myself daily. Okay. So we're seeing where his head is at right now, okay? So Mark's sentencing took place on March 6th, 1992. 5 uniformed bailiffs used a handheld metal detector to screen each observer. Pretty much what they do now, they were doing back then with the wands. They were searching everybody's shit because Stephen Bergsten, Jessica's father, was going to be attending the hearing with his wife Kay, and they were afraid that he was going to harm Mark because 8 months prior, this was after Jessica had been murdered and everybody found this out. Stephen had been indicted along with 44 others as a part of a nationwide drug ring. His property in 2 states were seized by the government. His daughter was, again, brutally murdered. And there was speculation that he literally had nothing left to lose by killing Mark.
Yeah, right.
So they were like, okay, we need to keep these guys separate in court. So later in his confession, Mark conveyed that he had killed Jessica Bergsten in a misplaced act of revenge towards Brandy McLean, calling Jessica the, quote, mold Brandy was made out of. Mark offered an apology to Jessica's family, asking them to forgive him. Quote, God has changed me, and it is no typical jailhouse conversation. I sincerely hope that they can accept my apology for my carelessness. And this is when Stephen lost his fucking shit and started yelling. That's what he said. Literally, This is what Stephen said in court. Carelessness. He's a child murderer and a child rapist. He's an evil incarnate. Then Mark, along with many others in the courtroom, cried as Stephen continued an angry 20-minute monologue that the judge let go on.
Oh, shit.
Quote, cowards die 1,000 times and he will die 1,000 deaths. He raped her and raped her and raped her and then thought, let's kill her. We couldn't say goodbye to our Jessica because that filth left her with nothing but a piece of skin left there for the coyotes and goddamn birds to eat her. That has to be so fucking emotional in this goddamn place. So then Stephen glared directly at Mark and with a firm voice he said, I told you, and you remember, Rogowski, what would happen if you hurt my daughter. He says he's undergone a religious conversion. Judge, you might have heard the same story 100 times. If he underwent a religious conversion, it was to evil, to filth, to Satanism. Shortly thereafter, the Superior Court judge sentenced Mark Gator Rogowski to consecutive terms of 6 years for forcible rape and 25 years to life for the first-degree murder of Jessica. So Mark surrounds himself with born-again Christians in jail. Augie Constantino is continuing his studies to become a minister. He still preaches to surfers and skaters at the San Diego area, hoping that they'll find Christ. Stephen Bergston's money laundering charges were dismissed 2 months later in Tuscan. Brandy McLean changed her name to Colby Calais.
Yay!
No, she didn't. I'm fucking with you. Brandy McLean lives in a penthouse apartment on the Upper East Side working as a flower arranger. Jessica Bergston's remains were buried on a family plot in Georgia. And that's the story.
I'm literally mad that you made me think it was her the whole time.
Of Mark Gator Rogowski. I know.
Who is it? Brandy what? So I could look at her
McLean.
pictures.
Look up Free Falling by Tom Petty and just put it on mute and you'll see her. Okay, but can we just talk about how fucking, when this shit... Clearly he had mental issues. I think they just said he was bipolar.
Right.
I don't know if anything has changed since then, but that's what the reports I read said. But he had so much success in so little time when he was so fucking young. He was at the top of the world. And then he fucking brutally beats, rapes, and murders a young girl. So,
which is really crazy.
That piece of shit, as we record this, is still rotting in jail. He says he has no he has no intentions of riding a skateboard, but he hopes to be free enough one day to fly a kite.
Shut the fuck up.
Stitch that on a pillow and then shove that pillow up your ass. Stick the needle in your eye. Go to the skateboarding part. Yeah, she's pretty, right?
Yeah. Oh my god.
And then there's Tom Petty. Yeah, you'll see him.
I think that guy's a piece of shit.
I think so too.
I knew that from just the way his whole life was going that he had issues.
Yeah, but that's not excusable, and I hate when the fucking Bible gets pulled into this shit. It's like, shut the fuck up.
Right. It's like just because you're a person of God doesn't mean you're a good person.
And
what is up with that?
The fucked up thing is they truly believe that they are forgiven by God. They're forgiven by Jesus. All the sin is gone. They just he tried to turn this into a goddamn PSA.
Right.
He literally was saying, what will it take for us to not sin? Bitch, you fucking killed this girl.
If you really were a child of God, you would have followed suit. I'm saying.
Just saying, you fucking dickwad. Also, I was telling Sarah today that I was looking up this fucking mansion. I have to show you this on the Upper East Side. $88 million.
How does she afford a mansion on the Upper East Side? Well, a penthouse on the Upper East Side rearranging flowers.
I don't know. I don't know her life story.
Brandy, if you're out there, help me.
You mean Colby Calais?
Yeah. I'm so pissed you made me think that.
I saw Colby Calais in concert.
I was going to go ahead and see if it was her, and I should have did it, because now I'm really
You should have did it.
disappointed.
Colby Calais was technically my first concert I went to.
Whoa.
Well, because she opened up for John Mayer.
Start seeing your toes and you crinkle your nose.
You know, the song's about an orgasm, right?
No.
Yeah. Bubbly. We'll listen to it later. Yeah. One of them songs you ain't know was about creaming your damn panties. Do you have a fun fact?
Yeah. I have so many I don't know which one to choose. Let's see. Men are 6 times more likely to be struck by lightning than women. Sorry, sweaty.
Because they're 10 times dumber. No offense.
No, all the offense.
I love it. So my fun fact is the way you eat Oreos says something about your personality. Kraft Foods once surveyed 100 of Oreo eaters, and found out that biters are easygoing and self-confident, while dunkers Whoa! I just got a text message while the phone was under me balls, and I'm in my underwear. Wow, that I'm gonna have to sit on my phone and call myself tonight. Can you call me? I can't find my phone.
Sure.
It's in my asshole. Let me start that over. Kraft Foods surveyed 100 people who ate Oreos, and they said biters are easygoing and self-confident, while dunkers display more energetic and adventurous qualities. Twisters, on the other hand, are sensitive and trendy, baby. Which one are you?
I'm a dunker.
I don't really drink. I used to be a
What's
dunker.
Twister?
When you take them and you twist them apart and you like eat the cream. I would say
You didn't eat the cream.
that's probably what I do because I like to scrape it with my teeth.
Oh.
Love that. Do you have a tweet of the week?
I do. This is from at Tamika Christmas. Who Tamika?
You know I love that meme.
Girls spend their whole girlhood in taking messages about serving others, then spend their whole adulthood unlearning and learning ways to put themselves first, redefining what it means to be a woman. It's okay to say no, people.
It is. And you're not a boss bitch. You're a boss. Bitch. So mine comes from at 3005XY. Imagine penises getting hard by cracking them like glow sticks.
I love that.
I love how yours is like so deep and like pondering and
I feel
feminist.
like mine's always like feminist and deep and pondering.
And I'm like, let's crack open a dick and watch it glow in the dark. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you for listening to us.
Again, hit us with that 5 stars. We greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, please.
And patreon.com/esoteric oddities. We are about to go record your bonus episode right now. However, I think the one we're about to record just came out because we're on like a bi-weekly schedule now. Well, we're not bi-weekly. We're recording a week ahead now. Y'all don't give a fuck. Anyway, thank you guys for listening.
Thanks. Come back anytime.
We'll be here just waiting just for you inside your iPhone. We're here for you.
We are.
Keep smiling.
Keep rising. What is it? No, you can always count on me. For sure. That's what stalkers are for.
Thank you guys for listening. Goodbye.
Bye.